I have dug more than 2,000 graves in my life, but I had never seen a funeral like that one. One day, a few clerics brought the body of a woman for burial. They all looked deeply unsettled. Something felt strange to me. They would not even let me go near the body. As soon as they lowered the shrouded body into the grave, I noticed that one corner of the burial cloth was slightly open. It was as if something inside was trying to speak. My hands began to tremble. My name is Altaf. For the past 30 years, I have been digging graves in this very cemetery. People say cemeteries are silent. But I know they are never silent. Every grave here holds a story. Yet the story that unfolded before my eyes that day still keeps me awake at night. It was midday. I was sitting under the shade of a neem tree when I saw a funeral approaching from a distance. There were 4 or 5 clerics. No women, no children, no weeping. It was the first time I had seen a funeral carried in such complete silence. As if even death was ashamed. When they placed the body down, I stepped closer. An elderly cleric stopped me. His beard was white, but there was something unfamiliar in his eyes. In a low voice he said, "Altaf, dig this grave deep, very deep." I asked, was it an illness? He hesitated. Then he replied, "No, but someone else will be buried with her." A chill ran down my spine. I began digging, but his words kept echoing in my mind. Someone else. The grave grew deeper. The soil was not soft. It had rained a few days earlier. It felt as though the earth was already holding someone inside it. When the grave reached 6 feet deep, the clerics lifted the body. Their hands were shaking. They placed the body at the edge of the grave. And then I saw it. The upper part of the shroud had slightly opened. As if someone was breathing. But she was dead. No, she was dead. I had seen it myself. And yet, the elderly cleric quickly adjusted the cloth. His fingers trembled. He stopped me from coming closer. But I had already seen it. Under the shroud, on the woman's chest, lay a small pink bracelet. A child's bracelet. The body was lowered into the grave. Soil began to fall. But before I could stop myself, I asked, "Whose bracelet was that?" The elderly cleric sighed. "Altaf, it did not belong to her. It belonged to her daughter. The daughter she buried in this very cemetery 40 years ago. But without a shroud, without a funeral prayer. The ground seemed to shift beneath my feet." Then he told me the story. The woman's name was Rahima. She was a poor widow from Chak Nor Pur. Her husband had died when their only daughter, Kudsia, was just 3 years old. She raised the child alone. Washed dishes in people's homes, stitched clothes to survive. Kudsia was often ill. One winter night was especially harsh. Rahima had no thick blanket to cover her child. She held her to her chest all night. But in the morning, the villagers said, "This girl was sick. She cannot be buried in the cemetery. It is forbidden." They refused to perform the funeral prayer. They refused to dig a grave. Rahima's daughter lay in the house for 2 days. On the 3rd night, under the cover of darkness, Rahima came to this very cemetery. The same one where we now stood. She dug a grave with her own hands. The soil was hard. The night was black. She washed Kudsia, dressed her in white, placed the little pink bracelet on her wrist, and laid her into the earth. Without a shroud, without a cleric. 40 years later, Rahima died. Before her death, she made a final request. "Bury me in the same cemetery. And place my grave right beside my daughter." But the villagers felt ashamed. They wanted the secret buried forever. So they buried Rahima in another corner of the cemetery. So no one would ask why she should be placed near that spot. They did not know that even death cannot separate a mother from her child. When I was digging, I had felt it. The soil there was softer. Someone small had once rested there. The elderly cleric said quietly, "Altaf, we all realized her grave would end up where her daughter was. We tried to stop it, but she was stronger than us." I saw tears in his eyes. 40 years ago, the child who was not allowed into the cemetery now had her mother beside her. No power could keep that mother away. She was the first mother I had ever seen who returned to lie beside her own child. Now Rahima and Qudsia rest side by side. One grave large, one grave small. Grass grows over both. Sometimes, a stranger woman comes quietly. She places flowers there, and leaves without a word.